Alert, alert, alert. Shiny object syndrome is real. I hope I just caught you with a shiny object. If you have more ideas than finished projects, this might be the reason your business feels a little bit stuck. I know you're not lazy or unmotivated. It's actually because focus has quietly become optional for you. So, today on Small Business Saturdays, we're going to talk about shiny object syndrome and how distractions show up disguised as opportunities and why focus is not optional if you want real progress. If you keep starting things but struggle to finish them, stay with me. And while the intro plays, please like, subscribe, and share this with others. They're probably looking at shiny objects too, so they need this episode. So let's dive in.
Dark gaze, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight. The power is strong, the vision so clear. Building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group.
Let's talk some business.
Welcome back to Small Business Saturdays. If this is your first time here, my name's Aaron Montgomery, and this show exists to help small business owners work on their business with more clarity, confidence, and intention. And now, I want to say something really important before we go any further in the episode today. I work with a lot of creative business owners. I'm creative in my own way, just not artistically like a lot of you guys are out there. But creatives are easily distracted, right? Like, what's that? Right? And this is not a character flaw, right? Sometimes I think about it that way. Like, oh my gosh, I'm always distracted. There's always this shiny object. But it's how creative minds explore ideas. Curiosity sparks, possibilities multiply, and tabs open. We're going to get to that in just one second. But excited for you to be here. And I want to talk about this idea of shiny object syndrome and creativity. Now, I want to also be clear up front here that this is a recorded session here today. So I will be coming back and checking in on the comments after the show is done. But I am away this Saturday, but I want to make sure that we still got Small Business Saturday in front of you guys here. Now, let's go back to creativity here really quick. Creativity, it's a gift. But when creativity runs wild, we end up with, Facebook posts that look a little something like this. I did kind of modify it just a little bit, but, I just accidentally closed all 86 open internet tabs on my phone, all things that I needed, ideas, places to target for business. Poof, it's all gone, right? And then somebody chimed in, only 86 on your phone? I have 500 regularly, right? So today's Small Business Saturday is not about shutting creativity down. It's about giving it structure it needs to turn ideas into results. And each week on this program, we take one real business challenge. Obviously, a post like this is a real business challenge. They were willing to post it out on Facebook there. And I want to break it down using a simple framework from my book here, The Fundamentals of Business Success: Plant, Prepare, and Pollinate, right? And so today's challenge is the shiny objects. In Plant, I want to look at why distractions so often show up disguised as opportunities. In Prepare, I want to share a simple way that we can protect our focus without killing our creativity. And then in Pollinate, we're going to walk through a clear path, a clear system to be able to stay committed to the work that actually matters while still allowing those shiny objects to show up, these opportunities, these creative flashes, and not getting completely distracted by them. So let's dive in here. Plant, right, as we get started. Again, going back to the foundation of the book there. I'm sure there are some other comments that showed up on this, right, that are instantly recognizable to you. the dozens of open tabs, the ideas saved everywhere, the post-it notes, the sticky notes that are saved everywhere, things you meant to come back to. And really they're opportunities that you didn't want to lose. And what made me smile is not the number of tabs that they talked about here. It's how common this is for small business owners, especially you guys that are the creative ones. So it's not a discipline problem. It's not a motivation problem. It's not laziness. We covered that. And I know I say that each week, but these challenges we face have a root. Yes, they have a root, right? And we try to fix them on the surface, and we end up thinking things like, oh, I need more discipline, or I have to work harder, or we're going to beat ourselves up for being lazy. But none of that's true. The root cause is actually a superpower of our business. So I don't want to cover it up with these feelings of being lazy or unmotivated, right? Because that's not true. That's not what this is all about. That creativity is your business's superpower. And creative brains, they see connections, you notice possibilities, and you don't want to forget a good idea. So you open the tab and you keep it open, right? You save the link. You tell yourself, I'm going to come back to this. And then you don't, and you accidentally close them all. And now you have this like, oh my gosh, I forgot everything, right? The reality is you didn't forget everything. It's all right there. You can find it, and it's not a big deal. And the right ones will come back. And so I think first and foremost, just start there. We got to not worry so much about this stuff. Worry is actually what gets in our way more than the loss of the link that I thought I needed, right? And so none of that's wrong. But here's where it starts to hurt progress. The problems show up when those ideas have no container to go in. Because when everything stays open, nothing gets finished. Your attention gets split, your energy gets diluted, and work that actually matters just keeps getting postponed. And that's not intentional. That's not something that just like, oh, I'm making an intentional decision. I'm going to postpone everything. I'm going to have all these open-ended situations. No, it just quietly goes away. And this is how shiny object syndrome usually works. It doesn't feel like a distraction. It feels like you're actually being responsible. You're being curious. You're looking for new opportunities. But here's the cost that I don't think we talk about enough. Every open loop, right? This unfinished project, this open loop, asks for a little bit of your attention. And then your attention gets scattered further, and really focus that time that we need to really be focused on the most important things. They become optional. And when focus becomes optional, progress slows. Progress comes to a halt even, right? We get overwhelmed. And I know you're doing a lot, but if you're not finishing much, this is the gap where the frustration grows. And so we got to close that gap. So here's the mindset shift that I want to plant in us today. Creativity is not the enemy of focus, right? Uncontained creativity is what we have to manage. So as a business owner, right, we need both, right? Especially those creative business owners that are out there in the worlds that I get to talk to. And I would say almost all business owners are creative. You have to be creative because you're facing a lot of challenges each day that maybe you don't really know anything about yet, right? And you got to get creative on ways to solve those. But let's say you're artistically creative. I work with a lot of t-shirt people, and there's the designing, and so they're very visually creative. But what we need as business owners is we need a space to explore ideas. We need structure to turn those ideas into results. And so again, focus is not a personality trait. We have to create it. We have to have a space and a framework to allow that focus to thrive alongside our creative brains. So kind of think of focus as a guardrail, not a cage. And that guardrail, it keeps us moving forward while still allowing the room to explore and see what these new opportunities are. So let's hop back and head into the prepare phase. I think we planted that seed. If we're all on board, right? If you're confused here, you're not so sure what I'm talking about, or you don't agree with me, whatever that is, totally fine. Go ahead and put it in the comments, and I will come back to that, and we'll keep this conversation going. But I'm going to jump into the prepare phase. And so understanding, right, that's the challenge. That's where we started from, that post on Facebook. But we need a strategy or plan. And shiny object syndrome comes from a good place. So how do we get it under control? And the answer for me is let's reduce decisions. I think the real deep root cause is all of these distractions potentially or opportunities or open tabs require some level of decision making from us. And when we don't have the mental space to really focus on that decision, we can't make a good decision. And so we just leave it open. We leave that tab open. And so these so-called opportunities or reasons we've left the tabs open begin with needing to shift out of that project to the next, right? We don't have that space to make a decision. And so maybe it seems like something worth putting effort in on the surface, but we just don't have time to decide. And so the first tool I think that we need to all implement is going to bring immediate relief to this situation, right? Instead of having open tabs here, post-it notes here, sticky notes here, this note on my phone, this text that I sent to myself here, right? I've heard them all. And these are all great ideas in a pinch, right? I still use post-it notes. I still use sticky notes and I have random notes in different places from time to time, but it always comes back to a capture system. So that's tool number one. What's your capture system? Because if ideas live in all these different places or only in your head or only on an open browser tab, your brain's going to keep pulling you away from the work that's in front of you. So you need one trusted system that you've built, one trusted capture place. And again, not 5 apps, not I'm going to try this, Trello, blah, 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 right? Like I've tried all the apps, I've got all the apps, but I have one system that I come back to, right? And this one system is a place where ideas go when they show up. When an idea pops up, right, you capture it, right? And so maybe I start by capturing it on the sticky note, but ultimately by the end of the day, it gets into my capture system. And then you capture it and then we release it. We say, okay, it's captured. It's in good hands. It's not going anywhere. I know I'm going to come back to it. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. And so capturing is not really a commitment. Capturing is not saying labeling this thing good or bad or whatnot. It's just a container. And so some examples maybe of places that could be your capture system is the OneNote app. Google Keep is another good one. Google Docs, a notebook, an actual handwritten notebook that is one notebook, not 7 different folders, one capture system notebook, one task management solution, right? I mentioned Trello. I like to use Asana. There's some good ones out there, ClickUp, Monday.com, whatever's right for you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to be confident in your system so you can let the thoughts go. You can close the tab. You can know that the shiny object is still there. That fancy treasure, right? That's the shiny object. That's why we say shiny object, right? It gets our attention out of the corner of our eye. Ooh, that could be a resource, something worthwhile, right? And so now we look at it, we change our focus. But we need to know that shiny object's still going to be there. And so from there, we need to then say, okay, I've got the capture program, but now how can I confidently know that I will come back to it at the right time? And so that's the second part of this. We need some sort of a review process. Now, for me, it's a weekly review, right? And it could be monthly review if that works for you. I think if we let it get too far away, like I said, monthly might be a little bit too far away for creative folks, but what works for you works for you. But a weekly system is great because your capture system can also start to become overwhelming if you don't have a way to come back and actually make the decisions, right? We do at some point need to label this. And so this tool gives our creative brains the confidence that the right good ideas and opportunities will be handled at the right time. So once a week, you go into your capture list and you review what you've captured, what still matters, what doesn't. Some of it might not even be worthwhile anymore. Some of it you might have actually done without even knowing it while you were working on something else. And then you start making some alignment decisions, right? Does this thing actually align with my current priorities? Right? Without that weekly review, the shiny objects keep piling up, and then they're going to start calling you, right? They're going to start taking your focus away, right? That we need to get back to focus, and then we can get restored into, okay, let's get what we need done at the right time. And so I'm going to just real quickly cover what works for me. And I'm not saying this prescriptively. I'm not saying follow this exactly, but I'm saying take inspiration from this. So as I mentioned, I use Asana. And what I do when I have something to capture is I create a task in Asana, and I copy in that link that was the reason that the open tab was there. Whatever I've got in front of me, right? It's got to be quick. If I can't do it in 30 seconds, I'm not adding any more detail. Just get enough to get it in there. And then the last part before I save that task is I need to put a due date on it. But I don't just like randomly pick whatever date. For me, my review process is weekly, and I do that on Sunday late afternoon. And so what I do is I go, okay, real quick, I don't need to make a ton of decisions. I just need to go, is this something that's pressing that I should be looking at a little bit sooner? Or is this something that can wait later on down the year? And then what I do is I pick a Sunday that is going to be in the future. Okay? So if it is kind of, I'm really not sure, I just pick the next Sunday, because in that space, then I'll review it later. But if I know, yeah, this is good, but it's probably going to be a little bit later in the year, then I go a couple months out and pick a Sunday. And I pick that Sunday, and then I can leave it. Then I can just let it go. And I feel confident that when I go through the task for that week on that Sunday, it's all going to be there. And so from there, right now I'm good. And that's really the start of the system. But the last thing I want to share here from a strategy, from a planning standpoint, is we need to let go of the good so we can say yes to the great. Right? So sometimes we put that in there, right? There's been times where I put something in my system, and before I hit save, or maybe right after I hit save, I go, is that just ego? Is that just, right? Is that a good opportunity, but it's going to potentially get in the way of the great? Right? And so, and maybe we don't make that decision right away, but at some point you're going to need to say no to some things. And so this can be the hardest part. Most distractions are not bad ideas. They're good ideas, just at the wrong time. But our focus requires that we understand you can't do everything at once, right? And I might be looking into the camera, but ultimately there's like a mirror right here, right? Focus requires understanding you cannot do everything all at once. Yes, that's me in the mirror. And so saying no to something and turning down that opportunity, or just letting it go, is not rejection. It could just be bad timing, but trust your instincts and be willing to let things go. So one of the other things that I do inside of my system, again, just as inspiration for you here, is if things get moved, pushed down the road 5 times, I take the due date off of it. Right. So it's still there. Right. And maybe I just have the inability to let go of things. So like my brain's like, okay, it's still there, but there's no due date on it. It's not surfacing every week. And then what I do is then at the end of the year, right, I go back through, and everything that doesn't have a date on it, it's a purge opportunity, delete. And here's the cool part. I find that a lot of times it's not a delete. It's a, oh, that actually got done. Or, oh, I did that, but just a different way. Right. And so we just want to reduce the clutter. And so every year I go down through that list and I just get rid of stuff. And we say no to the good so we can say yes to the great. That's a quote by Zig Ziglar, I believe. But, it really makes sense, right? Like, we do have to let some things go. There's only so many things that we can do. And there's only so many things that we should do, honestly, because at the end of the day, we're not here to just work all the time. What's the good? Right. And that's awesome. But maybe that's for somebody else. Take on your role, the things that are great and fully aligned for you. All right. Now, let's go ahead and head on into the Pollinate section here. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where action, right? And so now we want to actually build the system. We talked about what the system could look like. I gave you some examples of mine, but I want this to become practical and something you can use immediately. And Your system needs to be a way that actually supports how you as a creative business owner thinks. Because awareness of this situation without structure actually creates more frustration. So yes, you need some guardrails, and I've been there, right? I'm like, yes, I'm aware of that. I've been at that place where I'm saying, I know what my problem is, but yet I still keep doing it. Well, here's how we solve that. We get into action. We actually create our system. And so you need to give your brain that system that feels freeing, not restrictive. A system that maybe says to you, yes, you can have ideas, but also says, no, you're not allowed to abandon your priorities every time a new shiny object shows up. And so, as we talked about at the very beginning in the plant portion, creative minds don't need more willpower. What you need is a reliable place for ideas to go and a reliable time for decisions to happen. Like I said, that's Sunday afternoon for me. That's once a year for me. But maybe maybe it's a Monday morning thing for you. Maybe it's a Saturday thing for you, right? Everybody's got our own space and place. So it's not about which day you pick. It's about having a place that if your brain trusts these two things, it's going to stop screaming, open a tab, don't forget this, right? And so for creative focus, we've got a loop that we need to follow, right? We got a loop we need to close. And so the way this loop would work for us in this system that we're talking about here is we start with capture, right? We talked about the capture system. We're going to talk about building that a little bit more. Then we park it, right? That's the letting go of needing to focus on it anymore. It's safe. I don't need to worry about it any longer. We parked it. Then we have that process where we go and pick up the shiny objects that are great, right? And that's the next part of the loop. And then the most important part of the loop, or one of the most important part of the loops, at least to close this out, is you need to finish the project. We need to finish the thing, do the thing, push send, be done. And then last but not least, and this is where I don't want you to forget about this part, right? Yes, we want to close that loop with the finishing, but also give yourself a little bit of review. Like, okay, cool. How did that go? Because what happens when we do that review, now we can see, now I'm starting to recognize which are the right shiny objects for me and which are just good to leave along the path for somebody else. All right. So that creative focus loop is capture, park, pick, finish, review. Capture it somewhere, let it go, pick what priorities you are going to pull out of that shiny object pile, finish it, and then review so you know which shiny objects to pick up later. So with that loop, now we can take some steps here. So we've already talked about this, but I want you to actually take these steps. Choose your home. Choose that capture spot. You only need one tool, and it doesn't have to be the perfect tool. A notebook, Google Docs, Asana, Trello, ClickUp, Notes app, whatever your capture place is. Here's a better way to think of it. Maybe think of it as an idea parking lot, a place for your ideas that you can have links, images, whatever you need can go there, and it doesn't steal the rest of your day. And every shiny object can go here. New marketing ideas, new product ideas, new softwares that you need to check out, new partnerships that are worth exploring, new content ideas. That we should totally start a podcast moment, right? Like, I think we've all been there. Or I really need to do this moment, but I'm in the middle of something else right now, right? Like, these things happen and they show up. And so we need that parking lot. Second, I told you we need to park it. And so a great way to park it is through this 60-second capture script, right? This is going to allow your brain to let it go. And so an idea pops in your head, name it, right? Get that on the capture. What's the name? What's the description, the quick description? Parking it means putting it in the parking lot. Let's get that description on there. Third, you want to tag it, right? What is this? Is it a marketing? Is it ops? Is it product? Is it money? Is it personal? And then time it, right? I already talked about that. I use Sundays as my time, but where might this fit, right? I won't have to pick an exact time, but I at least want to start spreading them out, right? A little bit. And so time it, and then return to what you were doing, right? That's the step there. That's 60 seconds. That should take you 60 seconds or less. I said 30 seconds. Maybe it takes 60 seconds to add a little bit more there. whatever's right for you is right for this. And then the next part is that weekly review that we talked about. This is where those decisions happen. This is your reset. And again, without this, your capture system's not going to work because your brain is still going, oh my gosh, are we handling this? I don't know. Is it going to go away? I know you put it in this capture system, but I really have no idea if you're ever going to come back to it, right? And so when you've set up this review process, you can basically say to your brain, relax, we're handling it. We got this, right? And then once a week, again, Sunday works great for me, but you can do this. And I think I get it done now because it's just become such a habit for me. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops, right? If I'm really deep and there's a lot of stuff going on. But in that weekly review what you capture, review what shows up in those moments, and then figure out, okay, great, I'm going to work on that this week, but what are some things that are going to get this to the finish line? And then you're going to choose the priorities for that week. For me, in my system, I choose about 13 priorities. I figure that's a pretty good nut to crack during the week. And if I get more than that, great. I can just go on to more stuff and be more proactive. But 13 is a good number for me. And that's it. You're not trying to do more. You're not trying to finish anything in that moment. It just means that you are reviewing and picking what's going to be next, right? And then as you kind of then get into the week, now you can actually start breaking that down a little bit and say, okay, these are the priorities I picked this week. What's the fundamental 5 for today that I can get that done, right? And just start picking that. What's the focus, but then what are the supporting moves that move you forward, right? And so let me give you an example. Maybe the thing that you've decided is that you've got a new offer idea, a new promotional offer you want to try. And that's the priority. That's what ends up on your weekly pick list. Now, a supporting move to launching that new offer could be, okay, I got to draft the offer message first. I got to ask 3 people for feedback, right? So whatever that is, what are the next couple supporting moves? You don't have to know all the answers, but just get a couple of to-dos that then during the course of that week become part of your fundamental 5 that move you forward. And here's a good rule to live by in all this. If that task doesn't support your priorities, it doesn't get your best hours, right? Like leave that. You know when your energy's high, so use that time for this most important focus work. And then I've already been talking about it a little bit, but really focus on that daily guardrail, right? And so before you chase a shiny object, maybe say to yourself, did I do my fundamental 5 today? Right? We actually talked about the fundamental 5 in the last episode. So go to liveosg.com and you can go to YouTube channel and see the Small Business Saturdays playlist there and go check it out. But if you've completed your fundamental 5, great. Now you can play with those ideas without guilt. If you didn't, the shiny object just goes as quickly back to the parking lot as possible, right? And this is how we close that loop. This is how we stop that cycle of, well, I'm busy, but I'm not finished with anything. So let me give you a simple example of how this might work, right? Let's say your brain gave you 12, 13 creative ideas this week. Great. You're a creative business owner. That's normal to be expected. The old pattern would have been, okay, that idea shows up, you chase 6 of them, you start 4 things, you finish 0. And you end up going, oh my gosh, I was so busy, but I don't feel like I accomplished anything. Does that sound familiar for anybody? Because it sounds very familiar for me. Now, when we implement this system, now a new pattern is going to happen. You're going to capture all 12 in your parking lot. You're going to review them once. You're going to choose a priority. You're going to finish that priority. You're going to feel momentum. And now your creativity has a place to go without hijacking all of your mental energy, right? Shiny object syndrome is not a motivational issue. It's a focus issue. And so what we did today was just said, okay, here is the way that we can build a system to capture those things, but still allow all that creativity to show up. Once I started implementing this capture system and picking my priorities and whatnot, it didn't stifle the creativity. It actually made the creativity better, bigger, fuller, and I'm better at picking out the right opportunities and letting go. Like they don't even become shiny objects. They don't even make the parking lot when it doesn't align with my strengths, values, and passions. All right. So as we close up here, I don't want to stifle creativity. And so it's not about reducing the ideas or even reducing the open tabs. But we really got to get back to the fact that focus comes from feeling confident that we have guardrails to manage the opportunities without saying I have to take action on every one, without saying I hope my tabs don't close on me, right? So with that being said, I am going to continuously keep guiding you guys back here until we can really get some momentum on actually engaging in the group, osg.link/group. I'm going to call somebody out because he deserves a kudos. Craig has been awesome about participating. Craig Bradley, thank you very much. So little pom-poms for you. I appreciate you jumping in there and showing up and posting in the Facebook group. So who's going to join Craig, right? Where's everybody else? Let's head over to the Entrepreneur Success Hub right away. In fact, I've scheduled a post that is going to show up in probably the next 15 minutes or so, maybe even a little bit shorter. And I want to make the barrier to entry simple, right? Maybe I was asking too much and that's why people weren't commenting. But I know you guys are having so much fun with all the caricatures on Facebook, right? Like, to me, I'm like, I don't really understand why we put our effort there, but we don't dig a little deeper and build some of these systems. And maybe we are. It's just this is the only thing we're willing to share forward facing. I think we need to flip that, right? Like the characters and stuff like that. But why don't we actually share what we're working on in our business so we get better perspective? Why don't we actually share the things that we're afraid of, right? Like I get maybe not going on your personal page and posting that stuff, but in this group, it's a very safe space. So if you, for whatever reason, think it's not, reach out to me, right? Like we need to use this group for what it can be. And that is a really huge opportunity to grow our business, get perspective, support each other. But anyways, off my soapbox there. We're going to make the barrier of entry very, very small. I want you to just one sentence, one word, doesn't have to, in fact, let's just keep it at that, right? If you need to make an AI image to feel better about it, perfect, do that. I'm good with that. But what I want you to do is share a single sentence or even a word of what your capture system is, right? And this will get some creative ideas going and maybe there'll be some others. It's okay to go in and go, oh, what's that, right? Like maybe I said this, blah, 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 and we've never heard of that app. And somebody goes, oh, tell me more, right? And then we can get into the conversation. And so it's going to start some creative ideas for everybody, but it's also going to lock you in, right? So I've scheduled that post. It's going to come out shortly. So just go over to osg.link/group and participate, get in on the comments. Let's make this post the most comments that we've had in the group in a long time. There's 404 people in there right now. So maybe we get 404 comments. We'll see. We'll see who watches the show here. But with that being said, next week on Small Business Saturday, we're back. I should be back live and in person. And we are talking about why business growth is not something you ever finish, right? So interesting, right? We talk about closing the loop and finishing. Yes, projects, priorities we finish, but growth in our business doesn't come to a finish line. So most success comes from practicing fundamentals we already know matter, not chasing new strategies all the time. Like we want to grow and we want to implement these new strategies. But if you've been treating your business like a sprint instead of a daily practice that you can sustain, I would suggest tuning in next week. You don't need less creativity and fewer tabs open. You need that system that finally respects how your brain works, is what we talked about here today. And then next week, we're going to talk about that idea of let's stop making a finite game out of our growth and let's just make it part of our everyday sustainable practice, right? And I think that's going to bring our nervous system back into check a little bit more. We'll be able to calm down and go, yeah, it's okay to work on myself. It's okay to grow. It's okay to work on my business and not be freaked out about it because I don't feel like I'm finishing anything. We're going to finish plenty, but let's reframe how we look at that, right? So if today hit home with anybody, make sure that you have liked the video, make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel there, make sure you're subscribed or following us on Facebook, and share it with another creative business owner. Maybe they've got 47 tabs open right now that they're freaked out about, and today could really help them out. So I want you guys to have a great rest of your day here, and hopefully it's an amazing Saturday for you. And just remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. So progress in your business is never just personal. How you show up, how you serve, how you lead becomes the salt and light for others out there. And that's what this world needs. So I will see you next Saturday. Thank you for tuning in.
Dark gaze, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chase